We're live, and I'm here with Kevin McNee, a very special guest, a fellow Albertan, and he is doing a lot of exciting stuff that I'm looking forward to learning more about and sharing with you guys. And we just had we just joined it or met in Zoom 10 minutes ago, and we've been talking for like 10 minutes before we even went live, which is great because I just got back from my trip and haven't really socialized in a week and wasn't sure if I'd be able to talk. And then you just mentioned you came back from a trip with your kids. You were gone for like a month. So
Hmm.
I guess we're kind of in the same boat. And yeah, I'm really excited to get into all the exciting projects you've got going on. Where did you guys go on your trip though?
I pretty much traveled all over BC. It was it was a trip that I needed that I didn't even really know that I needed. Um, I've been navigating a separation from my ex-partner since February, and there's been some I mean with that all sorts of stuff coming up, and you know uh, with my kids and my ex-wife, we've always split the summers in half. So I had the month of July kind of to myself to kind of like sort through, some of the separation stuff and the challenges going through that, as well as, navigate, growing my business and supporting men and continuing the consistency with that, as well as, maintaining my health, which is like a huge piece of my life and, staying fit and active and consistent with that. But when I got the kids in August, the 29th of July, I was heading down and going to a family reunion, which is down just outside of Vancouver in
Mhm.
Ladner. And it was going to be the first time that I took my kids on a trip solo
Oh,
with
wow.
as my son's 16 and my daughter's 13. And,
Okay.
you know, going through the separation with their mom, going through this recent separation with my recent beloved, they've been through a lot, right?
Mhm.
And I mean, we all have, but they have, and they've seen versions of me and changes in me that I gotta just say that they've likely been really confusing. And this trip was an opportunity for them to ask questions and have conversations and let go of some stuff, or bring some what they're hanging on to the table. And I wanted all of that. So this that trip it was incredible, and it wasn't intended to be a month, but we went through so much, and going to the family reunion and all of the things that come up with families. But it was incredible. And then connecting with my parents and then my brother, and yeah, it was really powerful. I won't go into it
Amazing.
right now unless you want me to, but yeah, no, it was one of the most amazing things, as well as challenging to face the conversations and hear some of the things that they were struggling with too.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. I got back from my trip a week ago. It's hard to believe it. It feels like a blur. Because I basically just after that amazing experience, I just kind of needed to process things and I slipped into some old bad habits, to be honest, like junk food and
Mhm.
beer and stuff like that. And basically eating out of a trash or a dumpster for no, what's that expression? Anyway, eating crap for like a week, but it's all good. Um, I remember I saw a post you did like, I don't know, a week ago where you were working out in your yard and you mentioned that you had been, if correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you said you'd been kind of chubby and bullied a bit for that. And I was like so surprised because I would have never guessed. And you mentioned prior to your trip, you had some time to yourself and you're focusing on your business and your fitness. And because I just see a strong guy, and so you were actually that was something you overcame like in your past, was
Yeah,
like,
I was overweight. I was overweight my entire life. And it was something that yeah, like I mean I can remember all the way back to like elementary school, not wanting to take my shirt off in front of people, or when we had to go to swimming lessons in class, it was just like, oh no, like what's this gonna be like, right?
Yeah.
You know, I remember when I was 13 years old, and in junior high we went to the pool for the first time, and the quote that I put on that post was, what another boy said to me was, "Hey McNee, no wonder the girls don't like you. Your tits are bigger than they are."
Oh,
And I
wow.
was like, and I can like, I mean, that one, man, I got goosebumps thinking about it. It still hits
That's
home, but
brutal.
it was brutal, and I mean, looking back, like I wasn't super overweight. I was, but just chubby, and I would say I was very active. I played sports. I was really good at a lot of sports, and competed at a high level in multiple
Hmm.
sports. But I never took that side of my health and fitness seriously, and it was something that I struggled with, and it was something that actually affected all areas of my life and my relationships, who I attracted in my life, how the people pleaser, the nice guy, which you and I have very extensive experience with the people that we work with, but how that literally affected every area of my life, not only just my health and what I look like in the mirror, but how I showed up in every aspect.
Oh, I can imagine. I was skinny and small as a child,
Mm,
and that wasn't like a huge issue for me. I did feel kind of insecure about like looking super young and being small and stuff like that, but I was never really bullied for that.
mm,
But I can imagine what I can sort of imagine what it might have been like being overweight because there's such a stigma about that. And I'm guessing you were like you're still strong and fast, probably, and like you said, you're good at sports, but then just carrying that extra
mhm.
weight.
I
I
would say I
remember
was fast, but definitely strong, right?
strong, yeah.
And just very coordinated. I was also left-handed, and I don't know if that was also kind of like weird. So, like being left-handed and throwing left-handed and stuff like that. It looks strange to a lot of people, but it actually gave me an advantage in certain ways, like baseball
Yeah,
and, well, baseball really, being a left-handed
yeah,
pitcher. But yeah, it was something that was really difficult. And I mean, you speak to it as well. Like there's insecurities on either side, right? It could be, how overweight we are. It could be how underweight or skinny we are. It could be like how the size of my nose, or the fact that I don't have hair. Like any of those things, if we don't have the courage or the confidence or that love for ourselves, and we've never been shown that, anything can affect us. The most perfect looking person on the planet still has their stuff, right?
oh
It's just
yeah,
a matter of how we navigate it, and the work that we do on ourselves to, and not just like, yes, make our bodies physically look better and be stronger, but be stronger and feel more peaceful inside as well.
yeah, absolutely. And I think we can always find something about ourselves to be unhappy with. Like, let's say we don't have money and we're like, oh, if I just had money, then I would have confidence to date if a guy's single or whatever, or I would just show up in the world more, and then let's say they get money, they start doing well in business or they get a new job or whatever, and then they start to like look at their body or whatever, and they're like, oh, I don't, if only I was fit, then I could really do it, or whatever. There's always, and it's like, oh, maybe when I'm older, I'll be this or that, and then time goes by, and it's like, oh, now I'm too old now, or it's like
Uh,
we can always feel like we're not good enough or there's something wrong with us or whatever. And I
mhm.
guess um that's kind of like a good segue into some of the work you're doing, and I'm looking forward to learning more. I see you showing up really powerfully on social media and sharing ideas and leading your community. And for the people listening who are new to you, how would you describe the work that you do?
Mm. The work that I do, so I started a men's group in 2020, right at the end of 2020, and um, I'll just speak to the work that I do first, just so I don't go off track, and I want to answer your question. Yeah, I work with men and men that were me, 1 year ago, 3 years ago, 5 years, 10, 20 years ago. The ones that were doing everything that they were supposed to do to live happy, fulfilling, successful life. And they've been doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it, and they've done all of this stuff and achieved so much of what it means to be happy and successful and live a fulfilling life, and they're just not feeling it. And it's very much like what you were speaking to is like, hey, I want more money. Okay, boom. Hey, I'm making more money. Oh, like, I still, my relationship sucks. So, you know what? Maybe I'm gonna break up with my girlfriend or leave my wife, and I'm gonna go chase another relationship or a partner and whatever. And then I get that, oh man, it's the same thing, right? Or keep quitting jobs and going to the next thing because we think that it's going to be something that's outside of us that's going to fill us up, but it's not. And it's when men get to that place where it's like, okay, I've done everything that I know how to do to try and fill up this empty hole inside myself, and it's just fucking not there. Now what do I do? And that's when I feel like it's meant to work to connect, right? So, that was me. I'd done everything, made the money, had all the things, had the family, the $1 million family with the wife and two kids, the white picket fence, all of that stuff. And I was like, oh man, I feel so empty. My relationship wasn't good. We were not having sex. We weren't connected. We couldn't even barely communicate with each other. My job, I was literally working away. I remember counting my phone calls one time. I had 72 phone calls before 11 a.m. And I was like, this is not sustainable. I feel like I'm gonna have a heart attack.
Mm.
And yeah, that's when everything shifted for me. And I left my marriage and not the most, like, let's say, high vibrational way. Um, I won't even say that. I left. I went outside my marriage and left because I didn't know what else to do. It was the only way that I knew how to get out of it. If
Mhm.
I look back, would I change that? I don't know. It's hard to say, but
Yeah.
it was one of those things where I was at that point where I was like, now what do I do? And I need to do something to get the hell out of it. And I didn't have a space to talk to anyone, to go to connect with other men. And I didn't even realize how much I needed that. So, throughout that transition, I started having these real conversations with other men by saying, this is what I'm feeling, this is what I'm going through, this is what I'm struggling with. And they're just like, oh my God, like, wow, like me too. Me too. And that's what kind of got me into
Mhm.
this work. And, I started this deep dive into my own self and I took my breathwork certification, my personal training certification so that I can help with the physical body, with the mental, emotional, spiritual, with breathwork. Um, I've done a lot of spiritual healing, plant medicine, and just like continued to work on myself through relationship courses and certifications. And yeah, it's I just
Oh,
I'm mastering my craft and chiseling my own self so that I'm, by facing the deepest, darkest shit in my own life, so that I can share that with others and help them through the things that they're going through as well. And for some, it might not even be that dark, but they just want more and they just want better, and they're deserving of it, and
mhm.
they just need to be shown that and believe that it can happen. So I hope that answered your question, but
Absolutely. No, it makes me think of when I was living in Montreal in like so I lived there from like 2013 to 2018 and I was working in like the corporate world and I'd gotten into my field of like web design and marketing and stuff. And it had been a really long time coming for me. I had dropped out of school at university at one point, and it was just drawn out thing for me to finally achieve that and then get a good job with a salary and benefits. And I had my own apartment and I was buying clothes like from fancy stores and I'd never had that. And and then I started to feel really depressed. I was like, this is what I'd been working towards for a really long time. And then I had it and it was like all week I would work so hard at this office and then I'd just go home and I'd have the weekends to myself and I felt really empty and there was ups and downs and there was good things about that period of my great things about that period of my life, but
Mhm.
eventually that's actually kind of what led me to buying a one-way ticket to Mexico, even though I had no idea how I was going to make money or whatever. And but that's I'm not recommending that. That was just out of that kind of need to find something and change something
Mhm.
um, and the work you're doing would have maybe have been an even better or solution, really. And it's like you're saying how your journey of you've brought in the different components, the fitness, the breath work, the relationship dynamics, and what makes what makes this work so fun is there's no one clear kind of what's the word, like defined way
Mhm.
to get to where we want to be, which is kind of happy, healthy. Even that is hard to put into words, and we all kind of have our own
Yeah.
gifts to share to help others and our own methods that we
Mhm.
gravitate towards, and that's what makes it so fun and rich and exciting. And
It really
what
does.
have what have been kind of some of your favorite discoveries along the way for like, ooh, this is a really great tool that I can bring into my work and help my guys and then like, oh yeah, I see this is really helping them. Like, have you had moments
Mhm.
where it's like, oh, this is the really good stuff that I'm working with?
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot, right? For sure, breath work, um, guiding people in general, but the men in the community through breath work, through journeys, but also just connecting with themselves. As I'm doing it as well, it's just like you can feel the collective energy just like coming down. I mean, we're so high octane all the time, like high alert, red line nervous systems, access to our phones, activities, busyness, distraction, like all of this stuff all the time. When we can sit together and just like slow down and take a breath and check in with our bodies and do a scan from our head down to our hearts, down to our bellies, down to our roots, it's you can feel the groundedness and the presence in that space. And I mean that's where that's where we do the best work, right? So breath work has definitely been one of them. Physical movement was the number one thing that transformed my life at the very beginning. And I would say, that is the it's a I'll say the easiest way to just get started and start to see and feel results right away. You know, when
Hmm.
you do a bicep curl, you're gonna feel it the next day, right? So you might not see your biceps growing, but you did something, and that feels good when we start choosing ourselves and showing up and doing those types of things, whatever it is, there's something that shifts in here. And what happened for me is I quit smoking 16 years, or I smoked for 16 years. And most of the time I hid it from everybody. So I was a closet smoker for 16 years.
Okay.
And when I quit, I started running. When I started running and taking care of my body, I was like, oh man, this feels really good. I don't want to eat. I don't want to eat bad. Right.
Hmm.
I also am like, hey, is there more to this? So I started strength training as well. But as I was doing that, all of a sudden, like my mind started to get more clear, thinking a lot more clear, like, hey, what about this? What about that? But also I was like starting to tune into like, oh, is this really what I want to do? Is this who I want to be? Am I showing up in this way? Like I'm starting to get better in this area. How can I be better in other ways? So it kind of like got the ball rolling. And that was for me, and that's
Yeah.
my journey. But like the physical, taking care of my body in all of the ways, trying out different things. I ran my first marathon when I was like 36 years old, and
Wow.
took swimming lessons for the first time, proper swimming lessons when I was 39, and competed in my first triathlon at 40 years old. So, it's
Awesome.
there's I don't believe in we're too old, and I don't believe in too late. So, the
Nice.
getting old doesn't have to suck, and the more that we actually start taking care of ourselves, physically, mentally, emotionally, when we do the inside work, our bodies start to heal from the inside out. And I do believe that because I've seen it.
Mhm.
And I can, if you look back on my Facebook page or my Instagram, there's pictures and stories of what I used to look like when I was like 18, 19, 20 years old. And I've reversed the clock. So I believe it can happen too, but it starts with doing the inner work. And, sometimes the inner work starts with the outer work first.
Yeah. Yeah, like this idea of building momentum, I relate to that so much. And with these healthy, constructive practices, they when we're really dialed in, we're following and implementing. It's it's kind of about the bigger picture. Like in the exact moment, these things don't seem to matter
Mhm.
so much. Like what's one more bag of chips, or going to the gym one time isn't really gonna make you look and feel, well, maybe feel better for a bit, but it's kind of like the what's it called? When you builds up and
Yeah, it's like there's a book by Darren Hardy called The Compound Effect, and he
it
starts,
compounds. Yeah.
right, and he talks about like every little tiny thing that we do during the day. It's like even if you're taking like little baby steps, all of a sudden you turn
Hmm.
around and you look, and you're like, holy shit, look how far I went, right?
Totally. Totally.
Yeah.
And it's like then when you start building momentum in all areas of life, it all feeds into each other. So like let's say you start to gain some momentum in the social life aspect of things. And then it's like you have this really exciting social event coming up, and then you're at the gym, you're like feeling so alive and inspired to look good and have a six pack, because then you're going to show up and you're going to look great and feel great. And then it's like maybe you want to buy a nice shirt. And so then you're really motivated with your work, and then it kind of all feeds into to it itself, all the different areas of life. And
Yeah, it's those are amazing examples because it's so true. It's like all of a sudden, you start to open up. And what I hear in that as well is we start to unlock more doors and unravel more layers of ourselves, right? Because it
mhm,
could then be like, hey, you know what? I want to get a six pack, and oh, it's not 100% showing up the way that I thought that it was going to be. Why is it taking so long? And what's going on? And whatever. And all of a sudden, that's opening up another door to be like, am I so attached to the six pack that I'm going to let that throw me off if it's not showing up exactly how I want it, even though I'm
mhm,
literally transforming my body and, my health and everything, but I'm so attached to the six pack and it's not showing up. You know what I mean?
mhm,
So,
mhm.
that's just as an example, but that's where, you have to go into that to unlock that next level. And, um, as you know, in this work too, we're never done, right? And I've referred to this too as that can be like so overwhelming to think that there's always work to do to always get better because it's like, oh fuck, like there's more always, or it can be like we can always get better. Like every minute of every day we can always get better. And what if we were just done? Like that's where man, I got goosebumps. there's there's guys the guys that come, most of the guys that come to see me when they finally do, they've been beating their heads off the brick wall trying to figure out everything on their own. And they're going, I've done all this stuff. Now what? It's like
Yeah.
they feel like they're done.
Okay.
And I mean, what if
Yeah.
you had I mean, and this is a question to everybody too. Imagine if you were just done and you had it all figured out.
Yeah.
Then what? What would you do? Like, Okay, like
maybe
okay, well, like what's the point? What's the point?
I feel like either life would come along and kind of topple it all over, or you would sabotage yourself. And it makes me think of, I heard something about Donald Trump, and this was way before he got into politics and became such a polarizing character. At the time, he was just known as like a really rich guy.
Mhm.
And somebody was commentating on him, how he became a multi-billionaire and then his net worth went way down, or he declared bankruptcy and then it went way up again. And how we all have these tendencies where when we kind of, it's the process, the journey of getting there that makes us feel alive. And so when we do accomplish something, sometimes we kind of sabotage it or subconsciously dismantle it and
Mhm.
cause ourselves to kind of do it all over again. So that's I think a factor. Although I prefer to not do that because there's always the next. It's like, so
Mhm.
on that trip, the trip I had last week, we were on Mount Elbert, I think it was called, and it looked like we were at the peak. I think that's the word that they use at the very top. I'm like a newbie to
The
the
summit,
mountain. Is it summit? Yeah. So it's like we see the summit, like, oh, and we're like, yes, finally there. Although somebody had warned me, like there's like it kind of fakes you out, this particular mountain. And then we get there, and then it's like you see there's another summit. Like it's not actually the real summit. You just can't see it. It just there's another one, another one.
right?
And so it's kind of never ending. And you made such a great point about like the six pack, and it's as you know, I'm sure I meant that as sort of the joy of having aspirations, but then you made such a great point of being kind of unattached to like specific outcomes and just trusting that we are evolving and expanding and spiraling upwards. You know, there's that expression like
Mhm.
spiraling out where kind of everything goes bad, but there's spiraling up where everything is getting richer and more joyful. And maybe it doesn't look exactly like what you might have had in mind. Like maybe you're not,
Mhm.
maybe you have a different body type where you don't have the chiseled abs, but you're big, burly, and that has its own presence, and different people are gonna be attracted to that more than the chiseled abs anyway. So it's all good. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Or you know what? Just fast forward. Fast forward till you got the chiseled abs. Now what? How are
Mhm.
you going to feel, right? If you're not enough without the chiseled abs, then you're not going to be enough with it, right?
Yeah.
And you know, it's like that. Do you remember the movie Cool Runnings with
Oh,
John
the
Candy about the Jamaican
Jamaican
bobsled
bobsled.
team,
Yeah,
right?
I haven't seen it
Where
in a while.
you know John Candy, his character was in the Olympics in the 70s, and they weighted their sled and they got caught for cheating and they lost their gold medal.
Oh,
And he
okay.
was talking to, you know, the Derice, I think was his name, the captain of the Jamaican bobsled team, and he's like, Coach, why did you do it? And he said, well, Derice, he's like, um, you know, we needed that gold medal, and that was what we needed to fill ourselves up. But what we realized is if you're not enough without it, you'll never be enough with it. And that is a message that like I think about that often is like, what am I doing and how am I showing up? And am I working from the inside out? And that's it. So everything, you know, and this is just for anyone who's listening, anything that you're chasing, if you think that that's going to fill you up, if you don't feel like you're enough or good enough or worthy enough without it, it's likely not going to fill that up. So just something to look into, you know, working with guys like Justin or myself on figuring out what it is that you're missing and you know believing in yourself and your worth and where that comes from, the lack of self-worth or the you know the lack of confidence or the insecurities, those come from somewhere. Identifying them, working through that, and you know letting go of the old stories that are causing those so that you can move into this new life. And when all of that stuff comes to you, it adds to your life. It doesn't try and fill a hole.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes me think of, so in my professional journey, as I mentioned, I got into the corporate world and I did that, and then I left that, and I was making gradually more and more money, and then I made, by my standards, a lot more money than I'd ever made before, and then a lot less after that, but I was still comfortable. And during that time, it was a matter of maintaining. 'Cause so when I had a lot more money than I'd ever had in my life, that was really good for my self-esteem. And I think it was a positive thing. I don't think it was like, it did make me feel really good. Like my hard work, my intelligence was being recognized by the world. And then later I had a lot less money, but I had a lot more time and freedom. And it was a process of maintaining that boost in self-esteem that I had gotten, and without the money, and just that's my intrinsic worth. That's like uh Charles, who I went on that trip, he said something like just knowing that you're made from the stars or something like that is all you are, you're very valuable. And nowadays, being, self-employed, living in pure possibility, um, I'm really focused on feeling on the inside first, and like because I do have kind of goals and things I'm reaching towards and things I want to be,
Mm.
and stuff like that. But I'm really focused on, rather than it's over there and I'm chasing it, to just feel it, and be it, and exude it and trust that the outside is a reflection of the inside, and to
Hmm.
really kind of, love myself, work hard, let it flow.
Yeah.
And
I love
yeah.
that, the outside is a reflection of the inside, and that's a pretty easy inventory to take, you know. What is what does your surroundings look like? What does your financial situation look like? What does your car look like on the inside? Your house, your kitchen, your garage, your basement, like those things there. Like, is that a reflection of what's going on the inside? That's a really
Mhm.
powerful thing. And you know, um, we are all made from the stars, and anything is truly possible for us. I know that. It's not even a belief; it's a knowing, and it's up to us to just like unlock and unravel the the stuff that's holding us back, right? So that we can truly call that stuff in. Actually, I don't know if you can see, I have my dream vision board right
Oh,
there.
cool.
So I
Very
have it sitting
cool.
with me all the time, and it's something too that I just, put it all out there on paper. And I mean, you hear people talking all the time about creating vision boards and stuff like that. As I was writing out my vision board, I had a list in my phone of things that I wanted to do and whatever. As I was writing it out, I was like, I've already done three of those things this year.
Yeah.
And I didn't even realize it. It was I forgot that it was on my dream vision list and going on my vision
Wow.
board. So that's how it happens too. But yeah, I love that you brought up that. So, taking inventory of, the internal and the external, and how that reflects on each other. But one thing that I wanted to touch on too, uh, yeah, when we can go within, we can be at peace with nothing. And that is the ultimate, I feel like that's the ultimate freedom,
Mhm.
but money does help. And it can create a lot of joy and the opportunities to grow and expand and do more things and travel like we're talking about, but it can't be the sole driver. And it is for many, and it's like their net worth is or their self-worth is determined by their net worth. And that's something
Mhm.
that we talked about this in my men's group this last Tuesday, how however much money you make or little, it doesn't it doesn't determine your worth. You
Mhm.
are worthy and enough and incredible as you are. The money can just add to that. And
Yeah.
when we start believing that in ourselves, and knowing our worth, and coming from that place of courage and confidence, and leading from our heart with, having our balls and backbone and doing the things that we want to do, everything is magnetic towards us. It's just a way of life. And that's what I'm seeing in my own life and want to help others create in theirs as well.
Nice. Yeah. And what I find myself doing, and I think this is very common, is we have this idea like when this change, this external change happens, then I'll start doing all these things. I'll start reading more, I'll start waking up earlier, I'll start exercising more, I'll start eating healthier. Like when when I start making more money, or when I whatever, when I have a
When
girlfriend,
my
or when
kids
I
when my
leave.
kids are older, or when, like when things aren't so busy, right? Like, yeah, all of that stuff.
Yeah, yeah. And it could even be like when I get the success, then I'll start doing these habits that I know are going to make me successful. But really it's doing the habits is what leads to the success. So it's like when I'm already successful, then I'll love myself, then I'll be so dialed in with my diet. But no, it's loving yourself and being dialed in with your diet leads to the success. And sometimes people get so used to getting their ass kicked by life and kind of things not working out and losing that they forget to be aware of the possibility that it's all there for us to really thrive. And people, they don't even they forget that they're capable of feeling great and being healthy and doing really well financially, and just kind of get so accustomed, and they don't even think it's possible for them to have all those things that they want. So sometimes we need a
It's
reset,
yeah,
like,
yeah. It's
yeah.
sometimes the reset comes in the most rock bottom way possible, right?
Hmm.
Wife cheats on you, or you have a health crisis, have a heart attack, um, whatever it is.
Hmm.
That's often the catalyst, instead of just wanting to choose yourself and live a better life and look outside the box. And one of the things that I find, and I speak to this as well, is when you start to vibrate on a different frequency, on a different level, you can start to see things differently. And I mean, I know that you know this, and the guys that you work with are doing the same. When you vibrate on a different frequency, there's a lot of people that don't like that sound. So they're going like,
Yeah.
oh man, they're judging, they're pushing you away, they're talking shit, they're just kind of like whatever, blocking you on Facebook, or deleting you as a friend, or just not talking to you, whatever, because they don't like the sound, right?
Hmm.
But when you're vibrating on that level, there's other people that are like, what the hell is that sound? Like,
Yeah.
I need that. And that's where, the men that I work with, they're like, I want a different fucking sound than I've been listening to, because this one here feels like it's on rinse and repeat and like a broken record. So I need this new
Hmm.
frequency. I want to hear what song he's playing. And
Hmm.
music is a big part of my life. I learned how to play. I didn't start playing guitar until I was 32, and it's one of my favorite things to do, singing and playing.
Cool.
But I incorporated into the men's groups, the circles. I love dancing. I love singing, all of it. So, that's a big part of it. So, I like to use that analogy of the
That's
frequency.
a great
So
analogy.
let's just
Yeah.
start vibing high on this higher frequency, and you know let everyone raise up to us. And not that
Yeah.
I'm on a higher level, or better than anyone. That's absolutely not it. It's just different, right? And
Yeah.
the frequency that I want to vibrate on is completely different than what everyone else is doing, or what the government's telling us to do, or all of that stuff. So it's just like, let's
Yeah.
start thinking for ourselves, and choosing whatever the fuck we want to do, and live life from that way, because I'm telling you right now, it's a way better than it used to be.
Yeah. I totally relate. And like us being doing the work we're doing, it's like I don't have all the answers. I don't have it all figured out. But I'm going for it and I'm sharing it. And it can be aspirational, like the ideas we're sharing. It's not
Mhm.
like we don't necessarily have to have perfect health to be talking about health and inspiring health in others. We don't
Mhm.
necessarily have to be coming up on Elon Musk as the richest person in the world to be sharing ideas about business and inspiring others to think bigger. And yeah, and that sharing that vibration and that frequency. And you mentioned kind of like haters, I guess you could say. And haven't really gotten haters that much. A little bit when I've ran ads, because then it's like your stuff's getting shown to totally random people, so they'll like leave
Right,
negative
and
comments.
you're actually doing it specifically to piss those people off, right?
Well, it's a process of becoming comfortable with having haters. And there's this amazing comic. What's his name? He's that black guy, but he's got the long straightened hair. He's like brilliant, total genius. He's like saying like it's a good thing if you've got haters, like
It
you need
is,
more
yeah.
haters. And so I try to take that perspective, but I kind of still want to be liked by everybody. Um, but what I've noticed is that as I continue to kind of grow my audience and share more stuff, I get a little bit more pushback or like kind of prickliness about it. And I see that as being like, oh, I guess people are taking me seriously. Because it's like if I'm just a random guy saying random things, right? Like the fact that someone's like, "Oh, I don't know about that. I'm not sure what you're doing is okay," or it's like, "Oh, I guess they're taking me seriously. That's cool. I'm sort of authoritative, you know?" And it's like, yeah.
That's a
So,
really good perspective. And one of the things that I was taught or told here not that long ago was if everybody likes you, you're not being authentic,
mhm,
right? You're being who they want you to be.
mhm,
And that's how I lived the better part of my life, at least the first, 39 years of it, wanting to be loved and liked by and approved of and validated and accepted by everybody.
mhm,
Basically because I was insecure and I didn't want them not to like me. I didn't have that for myself. And, as I've continued this work too, it's like what I've recognized is, it's about 50-50, right? If you're being fully authentically yourself and speaking your truth and owning it and even being, one of the things I've been learning recently is being authentic about where I'm being inauthentic, where I'm
mm,
still struggling or where, I talk about health and fitness and, sometimes I still miss the gym or sleep in or eat like shit. It's the truth. I'm not perfect. And like we talked about this too, is like I don't have it all figured out either. But just being open and authentic about that makes you relatable. The
yeah,
guy with the six pack abs and the chiseled body, if he just talks about being perfect and having this strict routine all the time, he's not going to relate to a whole lot of people, right? And that's one of the things in these groups and men supporting men where they can come and they can show up with whatever they have going on, however they feel, whether it's amazing and they're fucking killing it, or if they're facing the deepest, darkest pain in their life, they can come here and they can bring it, and we're going to hold space for that. But we're also going to help them through it and build them up through it and create something so that they can leave there on a different trajectory. Because this isn't just a sit in your shit bitch session about the wives or you're playing the victim or whatever. Bring your stuff. That is more than welcome, but we're not
mhm,
going to sit in it, fucking stay there because we're here to raise the vibration and change people's lives. And the reason that my brand is called the Ripple Effect is because that's what we're doing. And we're starting with the inside here, and that spreads everywhere.
nice. The ripple effect is such a great name. And something I think about is so you're talking about like we all have this, maybe not everyone, but there's a natural tendency to kind of want to put our best foot forward. Like, because this whole social media thing, it's pretty new. Well, it's brand new in like the grand scheme of the human
Of
story.
life, yeah, existence,
And
yeah.
now it's such a big part of life. And there's really great things about it and really not great things about it. Like the, the effects on mental health, especially amongst teenagers and stuff is kind of crazy. But, um, so there's this natural tendency for us to want to put our best foot forward and just kind of show all the best parts of our lives. And
Hmm.
what I think about is like, what are and I'm not talking to you specifically, but everyone in general, what are your who are your favorite movie characters? They're not necessarily like the most perfect, like smartest, most athletic, most confident character. They're flawed, they have something to overcome. Almost always a good story, the character goes through like a change. And
Mhm.
so when a person shows up in your men's group and they're kind of screwed up, or they think they are at least, and they've been through things and they're not so sure about sharing something maybe, or somebody starts sharing some of their failures online. Well, that's actually um people trust that more. People can relate to that. And
Mhm.
most of the things that we've been through in life, a lot of other people have been through them as well and actually feel a real bond with us if they hear
Mhm.
us sharing and are inspired by us and maybe see that as being courageous and look up to you for sharing that because maybe they're like maybe they were bullied as a kid as well and they're kind of they don't want anyone to know that something like that. So
Mhm. Yeah,
yeah.
it's you know that stigma or the belief that we have to keep up this sort of image because we won't be accepted or we won't be loved or whatever the story may be that we create for ourselves. But it's like realistically, the person that's right beside you. So, anyone who's watching, look around and look at the people all around you, or the person sitting beside you, or your neighbor, or your best friend. They're going through something that you don't even know about. And you
Mhm.
likely understand exactly what it feels like to do that. Even though your story might be different, the feeling, those are universal and it's the same. So that's one of the things here is like whatever your story is, it's no better or worse than anyone else's because how you feel and how what it created for you, that's
Yeah.
yours, right? That is yours and nobody can take that away from you and you don't know any different, right?
Hmm.
I've been fortunate enough to not suffer, real major loss in my life. My grandparents lived long lives. And passed away at an old age, but I still have both my parents. I still have my siblings. I lost a stillborn son at 21 weeks with my ex-wife, which was a huge impact too. But like also too, like I can downplay that and go like, well, I've only lost this much, and so have lost more, whatever, but this is my experience. This is what I know. So, there's no such thing as comparing because fear is still fear. Sadness is still sadness. Grief is still grief. There's no scale for it. How you feel it and how I feel it is the same way. It's just that our stories are different. So this is one of the things
Hmm.
that it's so important for all of us to understand. But to think that, someone else is just, killing it and doesn't feel any of these things or doesn't go through any problems because they're showing up on social media like everything's all perfect. It's just a false front, and that's what it's so important to just be real and honest and relatable, and this world will
Hmm.
be a lot better place if we were just like open and connected and helped each other out.
I think it's shame that prevents people from sharing things and keeping
Mm.
secrets, but
Yeah.
it's actually the things that people are ashamed of that other people see strength in. For example, when I was living in Colombia, I met people from Venezuela that had extraordinary poverty and this like crazy stories of trying to survive and going hungry and stuff like that. And probably they feel a lot of shame about stuff like that, but it's hard for them to know my perspective being somebody from Canada because I see strength in that, like
Mm-hmm.
the will to survive and the will to
Of course.
continue living is like it's so remarkable. Whereas they might think, oh well, I'm just just this low bottom of the totem pole human or something, but actually it's incredible. Like being on the streets at 11 years old and stuff like that takes so much
Mhm.
strength. So
Yeah, and
yeah.
I mean, you think about something like that too, and we could take our problems and go, oh man, my problems aren't that bad. So you know what I'm gonna do? I'm just not gonna say anything. I'm gonna bury
Right.
it,
Yeah.
and mine aren't worthy of being brought up because that little 11-year-old kid has it way worse. But it's like, again, I don't know any different. You don't know any different. And just because we're feeling a certain way or he has it worse than we do, it doesn't mean we don't deserve more or aren't worthy of more or aren't able to go and get whatever we want because we can choose to do that. He might not have the opportunities that we have, but because we have them, why in the hell are we not using them and taking advantage of that? And that's it. So instead of
Totally.
being guilty or ashamed for what we're feeling, or because other people are struggling, let's take our power back and maybe we can help other people with it. And that is the mission that I'm on, that you're on. There's so many of us out here doing this work. So it's like those ones that are haters, go ahead and hate because I know that the hate is more for the person in the mirror than it is for us. We're out here doing this work and we're going to continue doing it. And if you want to get on board, absolutely. There's plenty of room.
Yeah. And so like I remember joking with a friend of mine, a young Venezuelan, say joking like I'm from a different planet and such a different perspective and I had so much more money than them and stuff like that. But the actual kind of like logistical advantages I have over them are not nearly as great as the real um extra opportunities I have. Like my passport is better. I can go more places than them. They don't
Mhm.
even have a passport. They never even had a bank account in their life. But so there are advantages to that, but it's actually the perspective and the mindset. Just because of my background, the way I was raised, the education I got. And so that's really what limits us the most is our thoughts, our mindset. Because even though I have a very expansive mindset to the possibilities and opportunities of the world relative to them, I'm still super closed off compared to what's truly possible. And the people that
Mhm.
are thriving on whole other levels in terms of creating incredible experiences, impacting the world on a big scale, like do they have a higher IQ? Do they have a strong, better work ethic? These sorts of things, are they better? Are they more physically attractive? Like those differences are minor, and some people are gifted with stuff like that. But I think it's the thinking, the thoughts, and it's all within the realm of possibility for us to see things from new perspectives and to open up our mind to the possibilities and to get excited and motivated and
Mhm.
to help each other kind of open up our minds to liberate ourselves to to what's possible.
That's it, right? And that's anything is possible, and all we have to do is dream it and work towards it, right? And this was one of the things that I, as an adult, my ex-partner, she asked me when right after we first met, she's like, she said, I've chased my dreams and accomplished so much and done everything I've set out to do. What dreams do you have? And I was like, hmm, I don't know. No
Mm,
one's ever asked me.
well,
And I was like, why has no one ever asked me? So
yeah,
now I have my dream vision board. And,
yeah,
there's been a lot of things that I've put out there and accomplished and experienced that I never would have imagined that I'd done before. And it's I'm just getting started.
yeah. And so being a coach, I want to like be so impactful with the people I work with and I want to have a magic wand where I can just wave it and then suddenly they're like, every they're like times 100 and they're a multimillionaire and so how do we go about doing that? Getting those change, bringing about changes in people. And what I've realized is that it's actually all we have to do sometimes is ask good questions. Like
Mhm.
like what that woman asked you, like what are your dreams? And
Mhm.
sometimes just the right questions can be so powerful.
Yeah, and even just creating that space, having a safe space where a man can just come with all of himself and just lay it all out there. Because even if they don't find the answers right then, or we don't have the answers or don't ask the right questions, if they can just relieve some pressure on themselves, it opens things up to those new possibilities like we talked about. Um, and then, having a support system, a group of men, you have your group of men for the coaches and the leaders in the space, which is super powerful. I've got the Ripple Effect Men's Movement that on Facebook, which is for any man that's looking for a space to connect and grow, and we haven't had that. Not a lot of us have had, well, not a lot of us have had that in our lives. And when we connect in brotherhood, we connect on these calls and in person and at the group retreats and stuff like that's going to be coming. Lives change, and it's not even because of what we're telling them or what, here do this or try this or the modalities. It's those are practices, but it comes from that connection and connection within. So,
Mhm.
it's an experience.
Yeah. I was on a podcast maybe 2 weeks ago with a man named Gareth Pickering, and he said something that really stuck with me. He said that he sees men's work now being where meditation was 20 years ago, and nowadays it's pretty well known that every Silicon Valley CEO has a serious meditation practice, and he sees in
Mm,
20 years this whole kind of men's work thing is going to become a big social force or whatever. And
mm,
um, I'd like I'd like to get into more of the details for our audience, like about what your offers are. So you've got the ripple effect, you've got a Facebook community,
mhm.
you've got your men's group that you started back in 2020. Can you share with us some more of the details about the different kind of things that you've got going on?
Yeah. So the Ripple Effects Men's Movement is my Facebook group. It's went through a few different name changes just over the years as kind of like I've transitioned on my journey too. And what I've recognized is that's what it is. It's a movement. What I'm creating, who I'm being and showing up as, and what I'm helping men through is creating a ripple effect. And I've seen it. I've seen it by doing the work on myself and now wanting to help others. That's what it is. That's the ripple effect in action. So, the Ripple Effect Men's Movement Facebook group, that's where we're gathering right now. We gather every Tuesday up until the end of October, every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Mountain Time. And it's men that we've been doing this since last October every single week. But we've been doing it for the last 4 years, and it's a special space for men to join. So any man who wants to join, hit me up, get Justin for my for my links and stuff like that, and I'll share them on here later, and then join the Facebook group as well. Also, too, I've got an announcement that I'm going to be making today. So anyone who's following me or wants to follow along, I'm going to be sharing that today about a new transition for the Facebook group into something bigger, something greater, something that's going to provide more for men, more opportunities to connect, more opportunities to grow. And yeah, it's super exciting. So going to be talking about that later on today. I do one-on-one coaching, so 100-day containers, it's the ripple effect, 100 days in action where we work together one on one for 100 days. And we start with where you're at and set intentions and build a foundation to create the direction that you want to go in 100 days. there's going to be a major impact, and I've seen it, I've witnessed it for the last 3 years is doing this work. So the one-on-one, the Ripple Effect 100 is really powerful. And then what's coming up here soon in October is the Ripple Effect Mastermind, which is going to be for coaches, for leaders, for therapists that work with men that need a place to go, and we're going to be doing our own work for ourselves so that we become the best coaches, leaders, and healers that we can be, and really make an impact for the men that we serve. So that's going to be coming up. So anyone who's interested in that, you know, hit me up,
Awesome.
and we can have a conversation about it. So those are the few of the things that I'm working on here right now.
Beautiful. Yeah, I'll definitely tag you on the recording of this, of course. And so you've got the Ripple Effect Facebook group, the Ripple Effect 100. Is that how you said the Ripple Effect
Yeah,
100
the
days?
100 days. Yeah, that's my
That's
one-on-one
so
coaching
cool.
program.
Yeah, I love
And
that.
then and then the Ripple Effect Men's Mastermind.
Yeah.
We're doing it as just like men's circles right now every Tuesday. It's
Hmm.
and then that's going to be transitioning into this new announcement that I'm going to be talking about later today, which is,
Yeah.
combining with another group, doubling the size of our group, and then having more facilitators, more containers for men to join into, as well as different levels that they can be involved in. So that's literally the ripple effect in action. So it's pretty amazing. And then
Yeah.
yeah, like I said, the mastermind is going to be shifting to a coaching container with 4 coaches to come and show up, and they're going to be facilitating. We're going to have guests. We're going to be doing our own work so that we have a space to take it and connect and relate with each other, because it's not fair to do that with our clients.
Yeah. The Ripple Effect Mastermind coming up in October, which is actually not that far away.
Not far away at all.
Crazy. We're almost in September. All right, it's been an amazing conversation, Kevin. So thank you so much. And I'll be looking for that big announcement later today. And it's so cool what you're doing, and it's going to be really amazing to see the evolution of all this great stuff. So thank you for your service to humanity, and
Thank you too,
thanks
brother. I
for
appreciate you, and thanks for inviting me on here. And it's an honor to connect with you, and you know, co-create together. That's what it's all about: the collaboration and the connection. And there's really no competition in this space, and it took me a while to figure that out. And
totally.
it's really changing the game for us right now.
Exactly. Okay, cheers, brother. So bye
Take
for
care.
now.